Have you ever been told by someone or read somewhere that stress will kill you? It's kind of a routine belief in our society that stress of all kinds is bad for you. I'm Dr. John Izzo. I'm in the business of conversations that make the difference. And today I want to talk to you about some fascinating research that it turns out that stress is not really the problem. In fact, stress may even be good for you if you learn to handle it properly. You know, one of the fascinating pieces of research is they've done some really interesting research with mice and rats about whether stress is actually good or bad for your longevity and for your health. And it turns out that whenever we study mice and rats in the laboratory, almost always when we replicate it with humans, pretty much the same thing is what we discover. So here's an interesting thing. If you put mice in one of three conditions, condition one, almost no stress. Not a lot of other mice, don't have to have a lot of complex social relationships. Food is really easy to find. Condition number two, lots of stress. Lots of mice, lots of negotiating, food hard to find, no exercise wheels. You can't exercise, but you've got stress. Condition number three, lots of stress, need to negotiate, find the food, but lots of opportunity to exercise. It turns out that those mice in the high stress situation with exercise live much longer and stay both physically and mentally healthy longer than those in either no stress or high stress without exercise. In fact, one of the fascinating things we've discovered over the last 20 years is that exercise is pretty much a magic elixir for the reduction of all the negative impacts of stress. We know from the biggest studies in places like Sweden that as little as 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week of vigorous walking pretty much alleviate almost all the negative impacts of stress. It's also true that exercising regularly, merely walking, staying active, may reduce your chances of getting dementia and even mean that the onset of Alzheimer's symptoms, even if you have the disease, could be extended by as much as 15 to 20 years. And here's the other interesting thing. Why do those mice live longer and healthier in the stressful situation? Because in fact, and we know this intuitively, when we have challenge in our lives, when we have opportunity to grow, when we have to really use our brain, we're actually happier and more engaged than when we're not. So it's not stress that's the problem, it's the way we handle stress. We also know that just choosing to not let stress get to you, taking it on, is a big factor. I remember years ago a man telling me that he had a little tree outside of his house, and every day after work, and he had a very stressful job, before he went into the house, he would literally dump all his stress from the day on the tree. He'd take 5 minutes and debrief with the tree, say, look, I'll pick you up in the morning. He said all night long he would think to himself every time he got stressed, you know what? I'll pick it up at the tree in the morning. We know that the brains of long-term meditators who even meditate 5 to 15 minutes a day are less reactive to external stressful stimuli than non-meditators. So here's the bottom line. Stress not only will not kill you, it could actually make you healthier because learning and growth propel us into a positive future. But if we don't exercise, and that means just walking, not vigorous exercise, just being active, and if we don't learn to manage stress, that's when we get in trouble. I'm Dr. John Izzo. I'm in the business of conversations that make the difference, and we'd love to hear from you at the bottom of this screen. Tell us some of your ways that you manage stress so that you can take advantage of the positive things while not having the negative things.